Weapons, a great movie that makes you realize just how robust and mid this movie actually is. Now, in today's video, I am going to be reviewing / ranting about this movie, and I will be giving out my full perspective on this movie. Even though some people on a certain app don't like to see other people with the thing they call opinions. This video is full of spoilers, so please click off of the video if you do not like seeing a literal white PNG talk about this movie. You have been warned. I'm not even gonna lie, this movie has actually rubbed me the wrong way. This movie actually pissed me off so much that I had to make a separate channel from my original one, hint, to talk about this movie and future movies probably. I watched Weapons one day before its release on August 7th. I was so excited because the marketing for the movie was actually carrying it, and for that reason, it gained a lot of traction and everyone was talking about it. To add to the hype, the critics' score came in about a week before the movie came out, and the score was about 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it gave me high expectations for this movie. The movie was it was all right. It was just all right. So there are so many things about this movie that need to be said. So sorry if the way I talk about the movie seems scattered. It's because the movie is. The one good thing about this movie was the beginning half. It really makes you feel the tone on how the rest of the movie is going to play out. And then when the movie reaches its midpoint and from there on, the movie doesn't seem to have a direction. I've seen a lot of people praising the actors, and I would agree, but the characters aren't really given any direction towards the end of the movie, and it was towards the very end of the movie that it all finally came to me. This movie was actually a masterpiece of deception. Now, before you go on and hate me for my perspective, I would like to say that I am a movie lover. I have been watching movies my entire life since I was a kid, and I love movies, especially horror movies. I have a lot of the same taste as other big content creators when it comes to movies, but I couldn't just stand here and do nothing while critics praise this movie for being a masterpiece. How are you going to sit there and tell me it was a better movie than The Thing, The Conjuring, Alien? I know these movies are like vastly different, but I do not think this movie comes anywhere close to being one of the greats. And I don't know who is paying these critics to just boast about the movie. This movie wasn't scary to me. I'm a person who normally gets scared by even like bad horror movies. This movie only had like one scene at the beginning of the movie that made me jump. The movie seemed to switch its priorities from jump scaring to building up tension, and it worked for a while, but it's not like the movie even turned like comedic. It just turned into this weird amalgamation of tension that was building up to something, all for it to slowly crumble down when you realize this movie is just mediocre. And in my opinion, it does not deserve to have 100% or 95% Rotten Tomato score. People were legit laughing at scenes in my theater because of how ridiculous they were. I don't know exactly what the critics reviewing this movie were snorting exactly, but I need some of that shit. I need to see what they saw in this movie, because I didn't see anything special about this movie besides its very interesting premise that sadly didn't have anything interesting built upon it. Let me get into the specifics a bit. This movie is separated into chapters, with those chapters being the names of characters we follow. I like this a lot, and it gives different perspectives on each of the characters and how it eventually builds up to all of them, mostly being connected towards the end of the movie. The beginning of the movie is great and leaves you with so many questions. 17 kids went missing in a teacher's classroom except for one. His name was Alex. One thing that I am confused about is, well, there's a lot that I am confused about, and it's not just me being stupid, it's most of the movie that makes me confused because the direction they took was like very interesting. But the thing I am confused about is that throughout the beginning of the movie, they don't make it seem like there is anything more to Alex than they told you. He was very important to the story because during his chapter, they explained what happened with the 17 kids and how he was also connected to them and the main villain of the movie. They didn't really allude to Alex knowing anything, and all his interactions from the beginning of the movie made you think that he didn't actually know any more than the movie actually told you, even though he did know everything. During the first quarter of the movie, the story honed in on personal relations between the characters, especially the cop named Paul and the teacher Justine. Paul cheats on his wife with Justine because she is another woman. The other character the movie hones in on is Archer, a grieving father whose son was part of the missing kids. The last important character on the list is James, a homeless druggie who eventually breaks into a home where he finds the missing kids all in a basement, all standing up in place, almost like they were being hypnotized or something. All of their performances were good, with questionable scripts towards the second quarter of the movie, especially when Paul and James interact. It just seems a little fake to me, but they give all of these characters good perspectives, but none of them build up to anything really. None of them overcome anything or do anything except to be there to move the plot forward. And yes, I know that happens in most movies, but they all seem very flat except for the father, Archer, which is a little bit more fleshed out from the rest. But there is no payoff to any of the characters, and the whole movie as a whole has no payoff. It literally is almost a waste of time. But there was this scene, now that I'm realizing, that was really well done and super creepy and deserves a mention, where Justine followed Alex home to spy on him to find answers, but then she falls asleep during the night in her car. The mother of Alex, the little boy, opens the door to her house and then starts walking super creepily towards Justine's car with a pair of scissors. She then gets in Justine's car and cuts a bit of Justine's hair, and then the scene cuts. It was a super creepy scene, but the payoff was, as you will realize further on in the movie, non-existent. But it's what happens towards the end that makes the movie totally hollow, because we're going to talk about the villain of the story. Alex's aunt, named Gladys. I honestly thought this was going to be a supernatural movie with like demons and but there's literally a villain that seems like she would be part of like some superhero movie, and she's like the main bad guy. She doesn't fit the tone of the movie at all. She is some like a witch person. It's not entirely like explained, but she wears like very bright, mostly pink, purple, and orange-ish clothes to, I guess, mask her true self, which I guess is just like a grumpy Karen with a supernatural like bonsai tree. And I know it seems like I'm talking out of my ass, but so she rips off a stick from the bonsai tree, and she can attach an item to the stick of a person's belonging, and then she pricks herself with the thorns from the stick and then rubs her blood on it, and then she rings a bell to make the personal item towards that person connected to the stick or some shit. Then when she breaks the stick, like she snaps it in half, whoever it is connected to, they start hunting down the nearest person to kill them. You can also wrap another part of someone's belonging onto the same stick before breaking it to make whoever you're controlling go after that specific person. So in other words, that person is basically a weapon, but it's done so lazily. The main villain has literally no motive. It's not even explained why she does the things she does. It was never explained why she even possessed those 17 kids who she kidnaps and puts in her basement. They never explained why she did any of the things she did. All that was fleshed out is that Gladys, the aunt of Alex, was going to stay at his parents' house. Then she controls them with the stupid sticks and then tells Alex that she is going to die soon from some like illness. So she tells Alex to make her better so she can leave his home. He needs to get something valuable from each one of his classmates and then to bring it to her. And another weird thing comes up. So Alex looks at all of the potential items to take from his classmates, and then when it comes to recess, I guess he just changed his mind and I guess goes to his classroom to take everyone's like name slits from like their drawers that they get in their classroom. And for some reason, that is enough for Gladys to control them. So it doesn't even have to be a personal belonging of the person. It just kind of makes no sense, because how is a name slit? Like, it just makes no sense. I'm literally having a stroke trying to find some sense into the writing of this movie. Also, remember the time Alex's mom took a piece of Justine's hair? Well, she takes control of Andrew, the principal of the school, and she uses Justine's hair to make Justine a target for Andrew to kill while he was possessed, but Andrew later gets run over by a car while chasing Justine, while Archer was also following, trying to help Justine from Andrew. This brings them close together to investigate the house of Alex. They figure out that the kids ran away from home towards the direction of Alex's home, which is why they go there again. While this is all happening, Paul is chasing down James for sticking him with a needle, but it turns out James, while breaking into Alex's home, finds the 17 missing kids in the basement, and James then remembers there's a $50,000 reward for any information to find the missing kids. So when he's arrested by Paul, he tells him about the kids, and they both go towards the home. And without calling in for backup, Paul goes into the house alone, where he is lured, and then he is controlled by Gladys, which leads him to get James out of the police car, so James could meet the same fate as Paul. Later on, towards the end of the movie, Justine and Archer enter the home, where they step past like a salt barrier on the floor, which alerts the mind-controlled Paul and James to attack Justine and Archer. Justine then grabs Paul's gun and shoots him and James, but then the writers felt like they needed to write something more, so Archer enters the basement alone to find his son and then gets controlled by Gladys. Archer then tries to strangle Justine, but the savior Alex clutches up and gets a piece of Gladys's ginger wig. Oh, did I mention that Gladys is ginger? So basically the same thing as a witch anyways. So Alex clutches up and gets a stick and wraps Gladys's hair on it and pricks his finger and then snaps the stick, which makes all the 17 kids chase down and kill Gladys. This is where the movie hits a new low for me, because Gladys runs through some of the homes in the neighborhood while kids chase her. And then you get to see the POV of people in the neighborhood being like, what the fuck? Why is there like an old bald lady who looks like they wear a ginger wig running away from a bunch of kids chasing her? Everyone in the theater were laughing because it seemed like this movie didn't even know what it wanted to be. Was it trying to be like a comedy or a horror movie? Like, it wasn't really clear. The end was just ridiculous to me. She runs from the kids and it looks so like goofy, literally like a cartoon and not at all like a horror movie that it seemed like it was trying to be. Then she finally gets tackled by one of the kids, and then she gets mauled by the rest of the 17 kids like to death. It's just a ridiculous conclusion towards the main villain. Once Gladys dies, everyone that was mind controlled stopped being controlled, but they all turn out to be like brain dead. Like, they all are just standing still, and towards the end of the movie, it turns out that none of the kids or Alex's parents returned to normal. They just turned out to be vegetables. But somehow Archer, even though he was also controlled by Gladys towards the end, he was unaffected by being vegetized. It just doesn't make any sense. None of the movie makes sense, and no one grows, and nothing is explained about Gladys. It's not even one of those things that needs to not be explained for the movie to seem creepy. No, it definitely needs to be explained, because why does she even do the things she does? She is evil because she is evil. I mean, okay, why does she kidnap those kids? Because she can? There is literally no explanation. One of the ending lines for the movie was some of the kids just started talking again. Or it was like some of the kids regained their speech. And then the movie literally just ends. It literally ends with the last line being some of the kids just started speaking again. And then it rolls credits with nothing else at the end, We don't see anything that happens to the characters after Gladys gets eaten. We don't know what happens to Justine. Archer gets his son back, but he's a vegetable. And Paul and James' characters died. Like, they were wasted characters that had no meaning to the story except to be 2 additional zombies. Justine and Archer are the ones to connect together to go into the House of Horrors, but Paul and James were there to be turned into NPC zombies? Like, their whole purpose was to show how they were turned into zombies? Their chapters didn't even matter or have anything to add except filler, I feel. You could remove their chapters from the movie, and then the entire movie would just have turned into a 1-hour short horror film. Also, towards the beginning of the film, Justine, Archer, and James all saw visions of Gladys, the witch, but then it's never explained why they saw the visions. For all we know, Gladys's witch powers only make her control people. The only reason I feel they even chose to put visions of them seeing Gladys in the movie is to add like 2 jump scares and then call it a horror movie. Gladys was never explained to be like a supernatural witch or anything. She was just a person who we presume found this bonsai tree. There's nothing else besides that. She can't cast visions of herself for what we know. There's more laughing at the movie theater than people screaming, and all of the tension the movie had built up was then thrown out the window when they showed in a comedic way, by the way, kids chasing down Gladys before eating her. How did the critics rate this movie so high? I genuinely don't understand how people even enjoyed this movie in its entirety. I love movies and horror, and this wasn't scary. And I get scared like super easily, and it wasn't the movie it was hyped up to be either. The film, in terms of horror, had 2 scary scenes, 1 jump scare that was pretty scary for most people, I feel, and 1 very unnerving scene of Alex's mom walking outside of her home creepily with scissors towards Justine's car while she was asleep. Besides that, every other scene was just intense buildup for the ending, which was not even all that good. To me, this movie was a waste of time. If you're looking for a good horror movie to watch that doesn't waste your time, I wouldn't suggest Weapons at all. Good premise, bad execution. There's some good in this movie, but the bad definitely outweighs the good. The sour feeling I felt towards the end of the movie won't make up what the beginning of the movie was trying to be. There was just a lot of weird choices and decisions made for this movie I just won't understand, I guess. I love the trailers for this movie, and they gave me so many questions I wanted answered in the movie, but they were either answered poorly or gave me more questions that would never be answered. My main question for this movie was, why did the kids disappear, and or what possessed them to do that, or what was like the purpose of them disappearing, right? And instead of there being like a grand final reveal, they just showed you halfway into the movie that Gladys is behind it and she has magical stick bullshit. How is that a way to tell a story? The main mystery was answered halfway into the movie. The other mysteries, like why did Gladys even do what she did, is never answered. And the most irritating thing is that they still never answered why Gladys even kidnapped the kids in the first place, or what she was even going to use them for. What would the kids have been used for? And there are so many other questions that we can only theorize on, but are never guaranteed, I feel. I guess you could say she was going to use the kids as well. Editor's note, it says that in the movie Weapons, Gladys kidnaps the kids to restore her health and to maybe achieve immortality, but this contradicts everything the movie showed us. The movie didn't show or tell us this, and neither did this happen, because even if this were true, during the movie, the whole time she had the kids in her basement, and towards the end of the movie, it never even showed her getting younger, so this again doesn't add up or make any sense. I'm definitely in the minority, but I still think this movie is just mid. I was expecting a 10 out of 10 horror movie, and I was just left disappointed after everything I reviewed so far. You will like this movie if you don't go in with high expectations and if you don't assume the movie is going to be like a 10 out of 10 horror film. But you might also like the movie, who knows? I mean, it's just fine. You don't have to follow anyone else's opinion like a sheep. You're special and you have your own opinions, and that's fine. A major reason I made this video also is to share my own opinion and let everyone else know that having your own opinion about something is fine, and you shouldn't dislike something because someone else does. After letting the movie sit for about a day, I then concluded that the movie is very deceptive. From the marketing to the beginning half of the movie, all of its build-ups and tense moments all are paid off with comedic moments and elements, which makes the tone of the movie constantly shift from horror to comedy. And as a viewer, you are just left confused because you yourself don't know what the movie is trying to be. There's a scene I remember towards the end of the movie where Archer is fighting off a mind-controlled zombie James, and Archer would repeatedly knock out James and literally throw him across the room, and James would just keep coming back to life. Everyone was laughing at the theater for how unserious this movie was trying to be. Archer was literally Hulk smashing this guy, literally bodying James, throwing him across the room, beating him senseless. But I guess the drugs were finally paying off for James because he would just keep coming back over and over. And it was just a really funny scene now that I look back at it. But it's just a super unserious movie that was pretending to be a serious one. I think it's fair for a lot of people, including myself, to be mad or disappointed at what this movie actually was. What I would change about this movie. I think the main problems with this movie are the shifting tones from horror to comedic and the main villain, Gladys. These things really just give you a bitter taste at what the movie is showing you, and it doesn't feel good. My ideal version of the movie would be to make it completely serious while still keeping some of the jokes that made the movie keeping me from falling asleep. Gladys needs to be either vaulted or completely reworked as a character / villain. I wish the movie was more supernatural than it was, because supernatural sticks from a witch tree didn't check off the bingo card as the main reason the kids went missing for me. You can still have the idea of a witch luring kids to her home, but the way they portrayed her magical stick powers seemed limiting to something that could have been original. I would have made the reason the kids went missing more of a mystery and something that wouldn't be explained until the very end of the movie. The main villain could be a demon, witch, or a godlike being controlling kids because he's bored or some crap. Anything else would have been better than witnessing elderly abuse at the end of the movie. Thanks for watching the video. I just wanted to record this before I saw anyone else review the movie, and I want to give my own opinion on weapons. RIP Gladys. Definitely let me know what you thought of the movie, and don't let my opinion be your opinion. Everyone has a different opinion, so if you would definitely let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie. Just don't trust critics. What a load of bullshit. Whatever, man.